Hi, my name's Steve Sexton, and I'm here with my friend David Wheaton. And we had fun doing this once before with Sensei Benny talking, so somebody I know thought it would be a good idea to do it again. So, what Dave and I have decided to talk about is the difference in martial arts today versus when we were coming up. So what do you think?
What do I think? Yeah, so I started off in Taekwondo, and my instructor had just gotten back from a Korean guy. He was in Vietnam for 3 years, and he was a combat Taekwondo instructor who taught Tiger Division. He was in the Tiger Division, one of the Korean Special Forces, and his training was what I like to call severe. Right, it was very, very, very harsh. Right? Not a lot of correction, and everything was very, very, very hard. And I think probably the biggest difference is it's difficult to find that kind of training anymore, where it's really quality instruction, and yet you're still learning like quality martial arts, but hard training. It's just a different culture these days.
Yeah,
For me,
I have to agree with you there. My teacher was a man named Jung Bae Lee, a little Korean man, okay, and he was a Hapkido stylist, and he was a huge disciplinarian. You know, I remember like he would teach kids classes, and I was like his favorite student at the time, and the kid would do something wrong, and he'd grab a bamboo shinai and he'd go over there and whack the kid with it. And I'd go, "Are you crazy? You can't do that kind of stuff here." I said, "Maybe in Korea you can do that, but not here." And anyway, so he lightened up on that stuff, but huge on discipline and very, very traditional, and you couldn't fool around. You couldn't, it was all business when you were there, and you had to do what you had to do. And one of the biggest things I remember is his English was terrible. It hasn't gotten much better today, but I mean his English was terrible, so he would teach rather than explain it. He would teach by demonstration.
Right.
And as you know, in the Hapkido system, that can be very painful.
Yeah.
So you didn't want to ask too many questions. Could I see that again? Well, maybe not, But it was very very painful to learn, I remember.
We had a test at our school last night, and I was talking to my students about that. When he first got to America, he couldn't speak good English, right? And what I became very good at was watching him very closely and being able to mimic what he did, because I couldn't understand him. And so when he would do his Taekwondo forms, I would really intensely watch him do stuff, and then I would just try to do it. And his primary correction for me was, "That's wrong, do it right." It's like, "Oh, okay." But yeah, I mean, I'm really proud of my heritage, and glad I had the opportunity to train like that.
So what do you think about the martial artist of today versus compared to the martial artists that we came up with?
So, it's interesting, so I think that back in our day there were like superstars in martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
And but really few and far between. And I think nowadays the standard across the board is much higher, right? I think that most people understand teaching and understand programming and how to train people, that it's not quite as harsh in the beginning especially, but then your students get just better and better and better because of the method that, at least in my school, the method that we've learned to teach people, right? It's kind of, I know Master Farbor's school has a lot of really talented people working out at it, right? So, yeah.
I know one of my favorite sayings is, as Farbor's knows, everything evolves. And I think my opinion of this whole thing is the martial artists of today versus yesterday. I think the martial artists of today and tomorrow are going to be way better martial artists than we ever were, because they cross-train. we stayed in one particular system, and that's the system we learned, and knew nothing about something else. They're pretty well rounded, so they're going to be way better fighters than the average student of yesteryear. However, they have to be disciplined to go through all of that, okay? But something's missing, because what they are is fighters. They're not they get in the ring and they've got bad things to say to each other. They don't bow, they don't, the respect level, something's missing there. But as far as ability, I think they're way better than we were.
Yeah.
What's your take on that one?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm definitely not a fan of teaching martial arts without teaching the respect side of it and the courtesy side to that. Was kind of the more important thing from my viewpoint, right? To make sure there's so much more to martial arts besides defending yourself, and the opportunity you have is to grow as a person is there as well. And if you don't have that courtesy and discipline, you won't evolve into it.
Right. I agree.
Yeah. So, and again, I know that it's we watch a lot of MMA stuff, and in those arenas, it tends to attract people who fight, right? Grandmaster Jun Rhys said, "Martial arts is not about fighting. Martial arts is about stopping fighting." Right? And
There you go.
yeah. So.
But I know my teacher. I was very into the fighting aspect of it when I was coming up through the ranks. And
Me too.
yeah, see, and he used all of the techniques in the Hapkido system and everything. And it was like, I remember asking him one time. I said, "How many of these do I have to learn?" Every time he'd slap me on the head. "Stupid! All you want to do is fight. There's so much more to it." And I'm so glad, that I was able to understand that finally and learn it all. And
He hit you enough.
Oh yeah, I guess so.
Good. That's good.
Yeah. So.
Thank you, gentlemen, both of you.
No, you're
Thank
welcome.
you. Thanks
That was
for the
awesome.
time.
That was awesome.